Okay, good stuff. Um, so hopefully you guys can all see my screen. It's going to be under live. Hopefully I'm not running too many programs right now. I might have to close something. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to close some stuff out. Okay,
Yeah.
Catherine, can you see my screen?
No, it's still loading.
That's not good. Hopefully that fixes itself. Okay, can you guys see it? Can you see it now at this point? I'm gonna just try again. Sorry about this. Hopefully this situation will get renumerated soon. I think that's the word. Is it good now?
It says it's been paused. Wait, just kidding. Hold up, it's still loading.
Okay, cool. Yeah, everyone just join that, and we can get started on the scientific method, and that's what our lesson's gonna be about today. Basically, like, kind of the steps you go through, and then we'll have a Kahoot about it at the end. And then finally, hopefully you guys were able to come up with some ideas. So we'll discuss that at the very end after
It
the
still says pause and it's still loading for my screen.
interesting.
Okay,
Interesting.
let's just do a poll and
I'm gonna try one more time. Okay, I just closed everything. Oh, all my screens are black now. That's ugh. That is not it. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, I'm gonna once again, final time, try to share my screen. Wait, can everyone hear me? Catherine? Can you hear me,
um
Catherine?
oh, I can see it now. It's
Yeah,
good.
okay, awesome. Sorry about that earlier, guys. There was just some technical difficulties, but I think we're gonna get started now. You can see the screen, right?
Yeah, I can see it. We're
Awesome.
good.
So, today is workshop 3, and it is going to be about the scientific method, okay? So, today, what we're going to do, as I was saying earlier, we're just going to introduce the idea, we're going to have an activity, and then finally, we're going to kind of go over what activities or ideas you guys came up with last time and as your homework. So,
Yep.
there's 7 steps to the scientific method. The first one is just make observations. That's what we're doing, make observations, and then 2 is ask a question or identify a problem, and that's mainly what we were doing the first 2 times, right? In asking a question and identifying problems, and then after that we're going to be searching for existing answers and solutions to see what's already been done. Then you hypothesize based on something new or existing answers, and you ask a question about it. You experiment on your hypothesis, test the variables you hypothesized about, you draw conclusions, and then finally you just report what you got.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 3 main types of variables, okay? First, there's independent variables, and these are variables that aren't affected, right? It is the variables that you change, right? One example is just the amount of water so let's say I did an experiment like on how does water affect the growth of plants, right? The independent variable would be the amount of water I gave to each plant, right? And then the dependent variable is the one that changes because of it, right? So depending on the amount of water I give, what is the height of the plant? Or that would be a quantitative variable, a quantity, or what is the color of the plant, which depends on the amount of water I give. So that'd be a qualitative.
Yeah,
And
the independent
mhm.
variable of the amount of water given, it's independent because like the amount of water that you give a plant, it doesn't depend on the height of the plant or the color of the plant. And like the height of the plant and the color of the plant, it's dependent because the amount of water that you give to a sunflower plant, it will change the height of the plant and the color of the plant.
Awesome. And so the final variable, and this is and the final type of variable, which is especially important in setting up an experiment, are the controls. And these are the variables that remain the same throughout the entire experiment. Like, so going back to our potted plant experiment, like control variables would be like the same type of pot used, the same species of plant used, the same location the plants were in comparison to like sun and things. And you got to work really hard to control as many of those variables as possible so there's less variation in the results. Okay. Anyway, step one,
Yeah.
yeah, go. How about you go?
So the first step is observing. So that's basically what we're trying to have you do with the funnel method. So you want to research your areas of interest and topics that you find interesting. So that's what you guys did last week and use the funnel method. So basically what you want to do is you just want to look at something in your environment and just basically like you're basically just making observations about your environment and doing research about it.
Yeah. Moving on to step two, once again, we're going to go again. Just you find the question, you find the problem, right? If you find a question, why does something happen the way it is? Why is something the way it is? Then you're probably going to want to create an experiment around that certain phenomenon. And for on the engineering side, you might have a problem, right? How can you make something better? How can you improve something more efficient, right? And that would be like one example would be like creating batteries, right? Like you engineer or like a solar panel, let's say for instance, you engineer a solar panel to make it more efficient and absorb more sunlight. Catherine?
Yeah, so the third step that you want to do is research. So you want to conduct a lot of background research about everything you learned about your project and your topic, because what you're going to do is that you're going to use the research, this background research about your topic into the next step, which is the hypothesis. And it's also really always beneficial to research studies that are similar to your project so that you can kind of gather a basis for a project and see how you want to format your experiment.
Yeah, research is especially important because you need to see if your question actually holds up. Because if you don't properly research, you might find out like someone already did this experiment. They're like, "Oh, guess what? Do pigs fly?" That's your question, and then you find out someone else did an experiment and they found out that pigs do not in fact fly, and you might spend all your time waste all your time on that experiment when it's already been done before and there's already an answer. Okay, so continue on with research. This is especially important on like the grading side of science fair, the writing side of science fair, and this is a safety, right? There's a lot of different factors, especially in certain types of experiments. For example, like human participant, a lot of people in their seventh and eighth grade projects, a really popular category is behavioral science. But the thing about behavioral science is you have humans, you have actual living people, and there's a lot of to deal with that. Participants have to sign waivers before you test them, and they can't ingest anything or be hurt in any sort of way. Catherine?
Yeah, so the other thing that is probably going to need a lot of safety forms is if you're going to do a project that has something biological in it or a chemical project. So for a biological project, that would be like if you're going to be experimenting with any type of fungi or bacteria and things like that. And chemical is just like if you're going to be using chemicals. So if you're going to be doing a project that requires a biological substance or a chemical, it's always a good idea to figure out and to know what lab you're going to be using ahead of time, and also on that topic, there are different level labs with like that correspond to different level safety hazards for biological and chemical substances. So like a BSL, so there's 4 levels for labs. Um, level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Each of them correspond to like how dangerous the substance that you're working with is. So a level 1 lab, that would be like a school lab, and that's for less dangerous substances. And a level 2 lab would be like a research institution, so, more dangerous substances. In level 3 and level 4, people typically don't use those labs because those projects are typically pretty dangerous.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know if it was this class or another class, but I know certain people were like interested in different like European diseases, and that's an incredibly interesting topic. But once again, it'd be very difficult to experiment on Black Death because it's kind of dangerous. So you might want to steer clear of that stuff. Okay, step four, hypothesize. So form what you believe will happen and use your research to support it, right? So this is an example of it's okay, yeah. Hypotheses are written in the form of an if-then statement, or if you're doing an engineering project, it can be written as a goal. So an example for an experimental based hypothesis would be if you add more fertilizer to a plant, then it will grow taller in a 2 week time frame. And you have to make sure and try to limit the number of confounding variables that could affect the results as well. Even like show some of your controlled variables in your hypothesis as well. Um, For experimental hypotheses, it's best to like how you can talk about making something more efficient as your goal, right? To factors to like, Catherine, would you know an example of an
Um,
experimental?
so for an experimental one,
Yeah, like um creating like it would be like creating a more efficient solar panel, something along those lines.
wait, that's engineering, right?
Yeah, engineering, sorry. I apologize for that. An engineering experiment would be like making something more efficient as the goal, as opposed to an if then hypothesis statement for an experimental experiment. Okay, Catherine?
Yeah, so another really important thing in science fair is knowing the difference between qualitative and quantitative measurements. So qualitative measurements, those are characteristics that you can observe with your senses and that can't be expressed numerically. So for example, those are things like color and smell. So, going back to the sunflower experiment, we one of the dependent variables that were being measured was color, and that's a qualitative experiment because you can't use numbers to express that. So a quantitative experiment, on the other hand, it's a numerical characteristic, so it can be represented in numbers. So that's like height, relating back to the sunflower experiment. And a good way to define the two is that qualitative, it sounds like quality, and quantity sounds like quantity. So that's a good way to help you remember the difference between the two.
One thing to note about actual science fair is quantitative measurements are, I'm going to say this, superior to qualitative because you can't really, yes, maybe rotten eggs smell, but it's difficult to really define how much it smells, to what extent. So that's why quantitative variables like mass, pH, and length, like we're showing below, are definitely better because they actually have there's actually measurements so you can tell how much of something there is as opposed to just some quality about it. Moving on to step 5, this is the experiment, right? You basically just test your hypothesis, and this is the fun part, right? You create a procedure, you complete, and one thing about the procedure is you have to include multiple trials for each variable to limit the difference in them, because let's say, because there's a lot of different, well, essentially one trial could vary significantly. So you need multiple trials and you can like average them together or another form of statistical analyses to make sure and get precise results. And then you record your observations.
So, like for trials, an example of that would be, so let's say we're going to go back to the sunflower experiment. So, one trial would be like one sunflower pot. So, multiple trials. So, let's say that you have 4 trials. So, then that would correspond to having 4 sunflower pots, right? And it helps you just get a greater sample size, so it helps produce more accurate results.
Let's take for example like height, right? The average male height, okay? You can get any single person, you can pick any single person in the world and measure that one person's height, but that may not be the average. What if you pick like Yao Ming or something? Then your average human height is going to be like 7 feet 8 inches, which is insane. That's why you want to gather as many trials as possible for each variable. You want to gather as many heights across the world as possible so you can get the most accurate results. Anyway, going on to continuing on with the experiment variables, we're going to go over them just once again. Just control group is the variables that aren't being tested. So you use that, right, as a comparison against the experiment group. So let's say like does fertilizer affect the growth of plants? Control group would not use fertilizer, while the experimental group, the group that receives the variable, would be like the group that actually does get fertilizer. Okay, Catherine?
Yeah, so a really important part is controlling confounding variables. So that means that each trial should be as similar as possible to the next trial. So let's say going back to the sunflower example, you have 4 pots of sunflowers. You want to make sure that each pot they have the same temperature, the same type of soil, and the same water, the same amount of water given, because it helps make the environments as similar as possible, so that you can really see if like a change in the independent factor and the change in the independent variable, yes, it just makes the results a lot more accurate. So yeah.
And one thing especially, I think in my opinion, in my experience, the judges really like when you guys control as many variables as possible, because it shows that you guys actually do have a good grasp on the scientific method and you understand that there's a lot of different things that could affect your results. So make sure and control as many variables as possible. Think through your experiments very carefully. And last step is drawing conclusions. Just, is your hypothesis that you created earlier correct or incorrect? Does fertilizer affect the results? Yes or no? You demonstrate just possible sources of error, like the amount of sunlight or shade it gets, like if maybe the plant's shade impacted the other, like the leaves covered up one plant covered up the other, that could be an error. How could the experiment be improved upon? Maybe separating the pots further apart, and then applications for your research, like, I don't know, growing plants more efficiently.
Yeah, and for the hypothesis to help determine if it's correct or incorrect, what you want to do is that you want to use data collected from the experiment. So, for example, you would collect how tall the plants were, and then you would use the measurements to determine your hypothesis.
Awesome. And then finally is the last step, and this is what science fair is all about, guys, okay? This is the final part. You create your visual representation and board, and then you present. And yeah, that's about it.
So, does anyone have any questions about the scientific method? You can just unmute yourselves and ask.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to be having a Kahoot on this later. So, if you
It's
have any
right
questions,
after
you should
this.
ask now so that you can win the Kahoot.
Yeah. Fake internet points are what we're giving out, okay? So,
Okay, so Ashutosh, he asked, what if they are both? So can you unmute yourself and please explain what you mean by that?
yeah, can you elaborate?
So I was asking about the qualitative and quantitative.
What would your example of one being both be?
So like for my plant experiment, I'm gonna have graphs obviously saying how much they grew
Mm-hmm.
because I was gonna do like hydroponics,
Mm-hmm.
but also like the color and how like how some plants like turn black and that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So do I put both, right? But like when they
Yes.
ask if it's quantitative or qualitative, do I just say both?
Well, you can measure different factors, right? It's best if you can, especially in your kind of hydroponics experiment with biological substances, it's best if you have a range, right? If you have different, you take some qualitative, you take some quantitative, and together, mixing both together is how you get the most accurate data.
Okay.
So, because maybe your plant did grow a lot in the first week, but then it died. But quantitative variables won't show that, right? It turns black and dies.
Mhm.
And then it's super tall and it's dead. And that means it didn't work. But quantitative variables just showing the length of the grass, they wouldn't show that. So you need a mix of both to get the full picture. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm doing an experiment with one of my rockets I'm making. So I'm using that how pressures can affect a rocket launch.
Hmm?
So I'm just having some doubts that can I do that?
How does pressure affect a rocket launch? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, if you want the best answer, after class or just right now, actually not right now because she's doing a lesson, but once the lesson is over, shoot Caitlin Bird a message. She did a project with rockets, but right now I'm not entirely certain how easy it would be to measure pressure from a rocket. There's probably some way, but
Mm-hmm.
I just personally am I'm not knowledgeable enough about the subject, but I mean, you got to make sure your variables can be measured. That's incredibly important. Yes.
Yes. Mhm. Thank you.
No problem. Does anyone else have any questions? Because this stuff might be in the Kahoot, and you gotta win. Okay, we're gonna give you like virtual head pats, or I don't know,
Venmo you.
Venmo. Yes, not really,
Venmo.
but we'll put the names in the announcements. Okay, you guys get like you get that bread, okay? So anyway, if no one has any questions, because I don't think anyone else does, we are going to get on with the Kahoot. Should I should probably put the link, right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna start the link on my computer, and then you guys are all just gonna join the Kahoot, I believe. And we're not mixing with the other group, but you know, so we can keep ourselves more concise.
Yeah, and also when you put your Kahoot name, make sure to put your real name, not like a nickname or anything.
Wait, are we allowing nicknames? We could.
Okay, make sure it's school appropriate.
Yeah, it's gotta be school appropriate. We will not hesitate to kick any of you guys out and then just start immediately after.
Yeah, we'll report you.
But nicknames are okay, right? We're gonna say that.
Yeah, as long as we know who it is.
Yeah. So like, one of my favorite nicknames for myself is Nerfer Nathan. So like, I think that'd be allowed. Like, we like clever people. That's always fun. Catherine, how many people are in Science for Group 1 in total?
Group 1, let me see.
14 or 15? So yeah, once we hit like 13 or 14 people, also Surya, you should join. We have a new mentor.
Yeah, 15.
His name is Surya. Say hi.
Hi.
Can you introduce yourself?
Introduce yourself, actually.
Hi, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm gonna be a sophomore at the academy next year, and I've competed in science fair twice. I competed in medicine, and I competed in behavioral so far. If you have any questions about that, feel free to talk to me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Here you go. Oh, okay.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah, he'll be joining our crew, so you might see him with us, you might see him in another group, but he'll be there. If you guys have any questions at all about behavioral or medicine questions, right? That's what you said earlier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Surya, join the Kahoot.
Okay,
we're putting you on the spot. Are you? Are you in? Okay.
No, not yet. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Yeah. Everyone put in the game pin, kahoot.it, and we'll get started, okay? Make sure you guys can go on your phones, or you can do it on your phones or whatever. I'll get your names. So once Surya joins, hopefully he gives us a nickname that we can tell. So once we hit 15 players, okay, I think we're gonna get started. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Are you hyped? Let's get this started, okay? Can they see everything? Oh.
What is quantitative data?
Okay, so quantitative data is numerical characteristics of an observation. So it has to be measurable data, right? Descriptive data, that would be considered qualitative data. And then just a tested variable, that's just an independent variable. So moving onward. Oh, by the way, Catherine, do you want to allow a little bit of trash talking?
Yeah, let's allow it.
Yeah, we like a little trash talking. So you guys are welcome.
Unmute yourselves.
If you guys are in like first or in doing well,
Imagine not being in first.
Imagine. Ooh. Okay.
Surya's not even in first.
I know. Surya. Okay, so yeah, we we went over this example a few times during the lesson. So if you're testing fertilizer on plant growth, fertilizer would be the independent, right? Because it's the amount you put of fertilizer, and then the growth would be the dependent. So yeah, I'm sure you guys that just mixed it up on accident. Ooh, our mentor is in the lead.
That's crazy.
Don't let it stay like that, guys.
Good.
Okay, so yeah, generally this one was this was an even split pretty much down the middle. So the deal with with scientific method, you want to research before you create the hypothesis generally, because you need to research and learn about the subject, about the things that have happened, right? Like about the advances in that area, and about as much as you can know about the hypothesis before you can form your own, so you can make an educated guess about what happens. Because that's what a hypothesis is. You hypothesize that if I add more fertilizer to a plant, then it will grow taller. But the only reason you know that is from your prior research.
Yeah, the research is to help you form your hypothesis.
Okay. Ooh. Okay,
Ooh.
guys. Question 4.
The answer is triangle.
Oh yeah, wait, did we not?
It is.
Do you want me to skip it? I can skip it.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
What? I would have clicked triangle too. I'm sorry to those I skipped. I thought Catherine actually gave away the answer.
I
I did
don't.
read it. Okay, that's kind of an L. Sorry, guys. I'm really sorry to those who didn't answer. But there's one person keeping up with Surya. Let's see. So, what is an example of an engineering project? We can go over this. So yeah, you guys kind of know what an engineering project is. You got to build something. Okay. Question 6. Which of these is an engineering goal? So they were all correct, okay? Yeah, so any of these can really be used as an engineering goal, right? You can make a system that senses motion, a motion sensor. You can make software to detect heart attacks. Any of these would work. If I add more water, then it will grow faster. Yeah, so... Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Wait, Surya, did you not answer the last one? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I think I only got like 2 of them.
This is the first step in testing your hypothesis. Hopefully you guys are paying attention to the slides, because this answer was in there. So yeah, the first step in testing your hypothesis is writing the procedure, right? Oh yeah, it's right up here. So yeah. In order to test your hypothesis, you first have to create a procedure, and then you can complete the trials and then record your findings. Anyway, moving onward. Okay, good job, everyone. Even if you're not there, even if you're not in the top 5, you're still learning. Okay, that's what we're after.
My computer's lagging.
I
Zach.
do. He's not good enough and he knows it.
That's
I'm
crazy.
playing. Okay, yeah, so the variable that the scientist has power to change, is the independent variable. The dependent variable is the one that changes because of the independent variable. So the scientist doesn't have any control over that. And the control variables stay the same throughout the experiment. So it's not changed.
Oh no.
Oh no. Okay.
I'd
Move.
do a little better.
It's fine. It's better to have one trial than multiple trials. True or false? Oh,
I read it wrong. I read it wrong.
Surya, how'd you get it wrong? Okay. That's okay. We love you anyway. Okay, so yeah. Question 10. Johnny's recording colorimetric change in liquids. He's recording the data of color change over time. So is it quantitative or qualitative? The colorimetric change, is it quantitative or qualitative? What? Yeah, so, okay.
False. That
What? Is this one right?
I
because
thought it
it's
was weird.
qualitative.
What?
Because colorimetric? Okay.
So,
It should be qualitative.
it's qualitative? Do we have a copy on that? Okay, I'm sorry about this, guys. That's a little unprofessional of us, but
It
not
just
many people
spices
got
things
it.
up.
It spices things up. Okay, now we have the great equalizer. We did this on purpose. We totally did this on purpose, guys. So now no one has a streak.
Know what's coming.
So it's anyone's game at this point, okay? Our bad. So which one of these is quantitative? Color, smell, mass, or taste? Okay, so the color one, I assume you guys chose that one from the last one, but yeah, quantitative, right? Mass is a quantity that you can measure. Okay, the hypothesis goal should always be an if-then statement. True or false? Okay, so the answer is false, guys. Don't sleep on engineering. Okay, whatever. Don't sleep on engineering projects, guys, okay? Those have a goal, right? To make the solar panel more efficient. That can't be an if-then statement. It's got to be a goal, okay? So remember that. So yeah, when working with hazardous substances, you should wear these. Okay, yeah. Good
Oh
stuff.
yay.
Good job, everybody. Second to last question, the control variable remains the same throughout the experiment. True or false? Bingo. Okay, so it remains true throughout the experiment because these are the variables that are controlled, right? They stay the same, and that's kind of, yeah. That's what it's about. Okay, this is the last question, everyone. This is make or break, okay? Temperature is qualitative in degrees. So like 73 degrees Celsius, which is pretty hot. Is that quantitative or qualitative? So it is not qualitative, okay guys? The temperature is quantitative because it's a quantity, right? Temperature or Celsius or Kelvin, I don't know if they taught that yet, but it's the amount of heat, so it's a quantity of heat. So
yeah, and there's numbers in it too, so it's quantitative.
As well. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Congratulations to Aditi. Prachi, sorry. And then Aisha.
Oh, yay!
Congratulations! Woo, good
Congratulations.
job, guys. Guys all beat the mentor. Sorry about the missed question,
You don't need
guys.
to talk about it.
We made this too big of a deal. Sorry for like wailing on you.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yay.
Not even getting
All right.
paid. Good job, guys. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about any of the other? You guys have first off. Do you guys have any questions about any of the just any of the questions we had?
Information
Information
that we
had
went
in the quiz?
over.
Besides that one question.
Just unmute yourselves and
Please
ask.
unmute yourself and just tell us.
Okay, that sounds like a no. So we're gonna do a discussion now. So everyone unmute yourselves. Actually, don't do that. Everyone turn on your cameras.
Yeah. Okay. Catherine, you have to turn on your camera too, right? You have a camera.
My
on.
camera broke.
Actually? Oh, I thought that was
Yes.
like an excuse or something. Okay. My bad.
You'll never know.
We'll never know. Oh, my lighting is bad. I'm gonna. Thank you for everyone who.
All right, so
turned their
turn on your
cameras.
camera.
Yeah, we're all here. You don't have to mute yourself necessarily because that would unmute. You don't necessarily unmute yourself because there will probably be a lot of noise associated with that. But yeah, please turn on your camera so we can make this discussion a little bit more interactive. Okay, that's what we're going for here. Should we split up into groups for this?
I don't know. I think.
Because I feel like
I
this is a
mean.
lot of people.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll just go to group 3 then,
Yeah,
and you
so-
can have half the people.
Yeah.
3.
Half the people, please go to group 3, okay? Try to evenly split yourselves between group 1, right? We're group 1 and group 3, so please join Catherine over there. Half of you guys. Try to just evenly split out. Okay, so yeah, please guys, if possible, if completely possible, please turn on your cameras. It'll help us a lot with the discussion and just like cuz obviously one thing about science is I'm going to turn off my screen sharing, but there are so many aspects to it and I know no one knows everything about it, right? There's so many different facts, there's so much information. Maybe you guys have researched something, come up with something in your research that even I don't know, and that's extremely important. We don't want to discount that ever at all. So, hopefully actually wait, can a few more of you guys join Catherine's group so we can even it out a little? Surya, just join whichever group has more people. I might ask you for some help here as well. I can't really. Okay, I'll move a few people. Whatever. Okay. Good stuff. I'd say yeah, we probably have around an even number. Yeah, I'd say we evenly split up our groups. So let's get started. Okay. Anyway, the first person with the camera on, I'm gonna ask you, Ariana. So, what ideas did you come up with last time?
By like which topic I was interested in?
Yeah, what
you
like
mean?
kind of like ideas were you exploring last time?
I'm really interested in those types of ones that are like, can plants survive in this kind of weather or in this kind of environment? And I think that's really cool. So I think that's something that I might look into.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Surya, do you know anything about plants?
I'm not completely sure, but I've looked into it. So category be, and so when looking at botany, and you said different environments that can survive. So I think when looking at that, the best way to do that is like replicating the environments, right?
That might
And I think that could prove to be difficult in ways, but I'm not sure how I can add on to that project. Like, what would you like in a way?
I mean,
Sorry,
mhm.
can you say that again? Oh, nothing. Sorry, never mind.
Okay, so yeah, that's an interesting idea. Environments like extreme hot and extreme cold, which you might be thinking about, right? As in terms of extreme environments, might be a little bit difficult to obviously replicate as it's Texas and it's hot. But you could. I'm sure there's a lot of interesting things along the lines of like I don't know how it wouldn't be easy. I don't know if it'd be possible to really look into, but like maybe you could do conditions on like I mean just mainly focus on conditions that you can control yourself, right? That would probably lead to the best results. If you're thinking about putting
Okay.
them in your fridge, the fridge light turns off when you close the
Oh,
fridge.
okay.
Okay. Next person who's on the screen. How about Arian? Okay. So what kind of project did you have? What are you thinking of? Any ideas?
Okay, so as I said earlier, I'm really gonna try to do the pressure, right, to measure pressure. See, so I'm gonna message Caitlin, and then we're gonna see if I can do it.
Yeah. I'm not entirely certain on like measuring pressure, but you can probably have a lot of different I'm not sure if you'll necessarily be able to measure the pressure itself that comes out of the
Mhm.
rocket, but
Mhm.
you might be able to change like I think that's what Caitlin did. She like changed the shape of the nozzle and you can probably
Mhm.
change the fluid that like the combustion fluid or something. Don't count me
Yes.
on this because I have not done any research on this, but you could probably test similar factors to those and you might come up with something like
I
controlling
just got
factors.
another. I just got another idea that with different like booster aerodynamics be cones. So if you shape them different ways, I could test them like that.
Yeah, that might be an interesting thing to look into. Okay,
Okay.
Sanjin?
Yeah. So I was thinking about doing something in the medical standpoint, like bioengineering,
Hmm.
like bioengineering organs and stuff.
That's a really interesting topic, but that seems like
It's cool.
it's probably a little advanced for what grade are you in?
I'm going into seven.
Going into seventh or eighth. It might be difficult to find like the resources necessary to complete that kind of experiment, as you'll probably need a research institution and
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was going to say, I think it's completely possible. It's just a lot of the time with projects like as complex as those, you really want to reach out to like an institute, something like that can help you with that. Like when I competed in medicine last year, a lot of the projects were like AI and machine learning, and so a lot of those they said they had a work study at UT or they were work study at A&M like the summer before, and I think going into seventh grade that's like really aspirational. I'm not sure at that age is what I was gonna say, but I think it's definitely possible, and it's really cool idea.
Mm.
yeah, especially with coronavirus, we just and all the I think there's a lot of colleges like I know A&M's closed for the entire first semester, like everyone's staying home, so it might be a little difficult to do that kind of thing, but we'll see how it plays out. Okay, um, whoever wants to go next, turn on their camera so we know you want to actually go. Mm-hmm. If you can't, then I guess that's
Oh yeah, I was also thinking about doing like simulating that,
simulating what?
like simulating growing using red blood cells.
That's very interesting. I don't know a lot about simulation, but I know I know MATLAB. People can do a lot of interesting things with MATLAB, but it does cost money. And like
Hmm.
I've heard something called a Unity generator, but I think that's like video games. Okay. Come on, someone else, please turn on your camera and then we can really just see if you guys are there and just help us out. Okay. Tough stuff, huh? So how about
I mean, if you don't have your camera, you can just unmute yourself and
yeah,
talk.
mute yeah, please do so. Tell us your ideas.
My computer wasn't like working just now, and I had to reload it.
Hmm.
So the past 5 minutes, what were you guys like asking?
We're just essentially discussing people's science fair ideas and just how that's going on with them. So since you're unmuted already, what kind of ideas, what kind of things are you thinking about currently?
Maybe something about like the ice age or the Cretaceous period. Maybe Pangea also.
How about Surya? I want to see you take this one since I took the last
Okay,
one.
so when you're talking about Pangea and like the Ice Age period, like
What?
what would you like have
I
in a
couldn't hear
sense?
you. You kind of cut out for like 5
Oh,
seconds.
sorry. I was saying she's talking about Ice Age. Oh, is it not working?
No, like
Oh,
whenever you
really?
start
Yeah.
explaining, it's just like the Discord gods are like,
Wait,
okay,
here, let me check my. Quick. Um, here.
okay. How about
Um,
you fix that and I'll answer her question. The
okay. Yeah.
Pangea, Ice Age, those are definitely really interesting topics that people can look into. However, generally, like learning things about those fields requires actual field work, right? Like going to those places, going to those marshes or whatever, and finding those like remains or whatever of those times before, and that's gonna be significant, pretty difficult for you to actually do. But if you find something really interesting, like some kind of like species or something, some geological thing really interesting about it that you can research yourself, right? Like you could probably come up with something really interesting in relations to like Earth and geospace or some kind of like organism, like some organism that's like survived since Pangea or something about Pangea, some factor about it. I think that could be a really interesting project.
Okay.
Awesome. Does anyone else want? Does anyone else have an idea and they'd like to share and hopefully gain some guidance? Okay. Ahona, I assume she
Um,
muted herself.
yeah. So I was. Wait 1 second. I'm kind of getting disconnected.
No problem. Do you think we should turn off our videos so it'll work better for her? We could. Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's working.
Okay. Good stuff.
Whatever.
Okay. So I was looking into diseases. So how different diseases affect different parts of the body, like coronavirus, that disease affects the respiratory system. So last time I looked into Alzheimer's, and that one, disease, like the people who got Alzheimer's got a loss of 60 to 70%, like brain cells.
Hmm.
So I might look into that a little bit.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't know exactly what. I'm assuming you're interested in fields of medicine. Projects on diseases are relatively difficult, just like the disease. I don't know exactly how you're going to extrapolate on that. Obviously, that's up to you. There could be a lot of interesting things on like Alzheimer's, like, because obviously you can't like make a drug for it. That takes billions of
Mhm.
dollars and immense
I'd say like
data analysis, or like maybe some kind of like program or something to like alleviate or like lessen the effects. I think those don't. I think I've seen projects on like relation to those, right? Have you?
I'd say like going off of like what you said, like I think it's like really just gone. I don't know why it's being like that.
Okay, whenever you complain about it, it works, but whenever you're actually saying information, it just like no, it's not about
Wait,
that.
really? Okay,
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 just
okay.
try again. Try again.
So I'd say the best way to attack that, like creating a method. Are you joking?
No,
I can't tell if you're joking.
I'm not.
What?
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
gonna go try to change something. I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah, so it'd be maybe something along I think a good there's a lot of good projects related to Alzheimer's out there. You can do something along the lines of data analysis, something about like testing for it, or maybe in some kind of yeah, just something about Alzheimer's. Just try to come up with a specific topic and how you can just help in the fight against it, I guess. Um,
Okay.
who else has just unmute yourself if you have something you want to share or an idea. Because we're gonna start. Surya and I are gonna start calling people out. Do you want that to happen? You want to get called out? Uh-oh. I think they do. Is it about that time, Surya? You think? Is it about time to start calling people out? Okay, Aryan. Actually, no, you already went. Who's next?
Yeah.
Okay, Ariana already went, I believe. How about Arush? Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. What kind of ideas are you having about science fair, or just ideas in general that you think are interesting? Okay, Sasuke. So we're gonna move on. How about Asher? Okay, what have you been researching? Is there anything you'd like to share? Hopefully we can help you out with your ideas and just like how you can further them. Asher? Surya, can you start like oh he did not want to get called out. Oh, that's too bad. Okay, how about Sanjin? I believe you're the last person for today.
Nobody said.
He already went.
He
He was
already
talking
went.
about bioengineering organs.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Thank you to thank you to everyone who came. If you guys have any further questions, keep doing research, okay, guys? Keep trying to find ideas. Keep using the funnel method. Everyone. Okay. Everyone else will give one piece of advice. Okay, that is a very interesting idea. So, okay, people are leaving. That's okay. So, yeah, guys, keep coming up with ideas. Keep using the funnel method, and I think we'll see you guys next week. Okay, it's gonna be next Thursday, and yeah, I hope to see you guys there. Keep researching. Use the funnel method. If you want, there's another idea. I think we discussed it like very briefly, but it's like an idea journal essentially, and you just go around and like every day you come up with like 3 ideas, let's say. So you're like, oh, you come up with 3 interesting things about the world. Like, oh, I want to know why I have a my family has a bonsai tree. So I was like, I want to know why is something why are the leaves turning something, or like why are the leaves turning brown or something. And then I research factors, and later if I look at that again, I can go back and research into that, like the different factors affecting plants, and maybe come up with an experiment along those lines. So like an idea, I wonder journal, that's what it's called. So you basically just come up with, right, Surya? Did you like
Yeah,
that? Did you
I've
like the I
studied.
wonder journal?
Oh. But it was, I'd say it was very helpful.
Yeah.
Like when I came to a blank on ideas, even if it wasn't like a direct idea from the book, it helped me develop my ideas, I'd say.
So yeah, just come up with like two or like X number of ideas every day. It doesn't have to be many at all, and just like so you're always thinking, right? That's our goal. You're always thinking about stuff, and hopefully you can come something will come up out of it eventually. Okay, so does anyone? Yeah, so if you guys have anything left to say, please do so. You can tell us right now. But other than that, um, we can let you go. So yeah, we'll see you around. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank
See
you.
you next
Bye.
Thursday.
Bye.
Hmm. I think yeah, she had connection issues, and then
Oh yeah.
and Sasuke is